xin chào, tôi tên là Michael. How are you? So I used to live in Vietnam for about 3 years. I used to work for Quaker in year 2006. So I used to work with the government a lot, and I do have many friends here. So it's like my second home for Vietnam. So I was here from year 2006 to 2008. And now I'm based in Singapore, actually. So my name is Michael. I'm representing Trustverse. I'm the founder and the CEO. And how many of you actually heard about Trustverse? Can I see your hand? Yeah. So this is our first visit to the market because we are trying to work with the traditional bank institutions and also with the blockchain technology where it can be implemented. So in a simple sense, our company is a digital wealth management platform. Many people talk about asset management, digital platform, but we especially deal with how to risk manage your digital asset. That's what we do. So Trustverse, we have been invited by the many traditional bank and the finance institutions, and also we are trying to work with the Korean government as well. So I subsequently get invited to the government AI conferences, hyperledger conferences to speak about the technology. So our team, I'm going to introduce our team, but we are traditional IT and the finance background people, or our team is. So we have done major conferences all over the world. So we are developing the European market, Middle East, and the Southeast Asia market. And this is our first debut to the Vietnam. Because I told you that I'm passionate about the Southeast Asia, and we are going to heavily expand from the first quarter and the second quarter of 2019. So what does our company do? So we have a 3 mission statements. So we want to structure unstructured market. This market is very unstructured, and as you can see through the Bitcoin Cash and the Bitcoin BSV, or the soft fork and hard fork issues, and then so many of the whales are now hoarding the Bitcoin and most of the digital assets. So you're suffering from this. So how do you prevent and how do you structure the market aside from the assumptions and So this is very assumption-driven market. So that's one of the things that we are doing with different data and building the stable indexes. So we do build and implement, and we try to build a healthy ecosystem with the partners who actually have the technologies to do it. This market really needs an intrinsic value because first of all we want to decentralize it, and then you actually lost some of the trust or the faith from the investors because you're not delivering anything. And I can just give you a simple example. How many of the DApps or the decentralized applications out there on Ethereum network that actually shows healthy TPS or the transaction per second? There's not many. So I wonder why it never happens. So Trustverse, so we offer three services on the Ethereum network. We are launching our DApp on Ether network on January, so it's going to go live. And it's probably going to be the first finance-related DApp on the Ethereum network that you will see. And you will actually see the transaction per second on that. And we will be releasing on 2 other services, which are, so we basically provide portfolio design. So whatever cryptos you actually put, we actually rebalance that and then build you a healthy portfolio based on your risk and then based on your return rate. So our Trustverse token actually becomes the fee and the access to use the utility service. And secondly, we build smart contract for legacy planning and inheritance. So for example, I can give you a simple question like, if you die today or get a car crash or whatever, what happens to your Bitcoin? You're the only one who knows about the private key. You don't really share your private key with others. So you need to prepare what's going to happen with your digital asset and how do you even manage the risk from hoarding this kind of asset. So we actually give you inheritance and legacy planning, how to pass on to your family members and what to do when certain kind of incident happens. And we do have a concept of what's called proof of death. So when there's a death certificate among the family member, it gets transferred to the another person. And then thirdly, because I know I have met a few finance people last night and then government-related people, and they told me in Vietnam the crypto is treated as more like an asset, not as a payment, which is illegal for now. So we try to work with the financial institutions because we believe that digital, crypto and Bitcoin, all these are considered as an asset for some case. That's why I think from next year on you will see many of the security tokens sort of, the approaches, but still there's a lot more, the legal and the framework work to be done. So we actually provide tax and legal data services for the digital assets. So if you're in Vietnam, I have to pay tax and how much of percentage do I need to pay the government, and what's the fees. So we are going to provide them by different countries, and then we also work working with the Korean government side to work with how to impose tax on which certain rate of the capital gain from the exchange. So those are the things that we are working on. So we try to solve problems like what if I die today? What if crypto crashes minus 70%, which already did for Ether? And we are providing transparency and solve information asymmetry, especially in this crypto space. The main people actually knows what's happening in this market. They are manipulating the market sometimes, and you actually have to see that. And then we also trying to achieve the transparency in the financial market. You heard about the fund and the hedge fund, but you don't actually see what's within that fund. And there's a lack of opportunity for regular users to invest because these services are only offered to the very high level on wealth management companies. So before going, because everybody talks about blockchain a lot and then they don't know what this blockchain is, so I just give you a very simple understanding of what blockchain is. So blockchain is simply a smart contract. It cannot be complicated. When you actually develop the coding for for smart contract and then pour it into the Ether network, public network, you actually have to go through the cloud network. So you don't actually just go to Ether network directly. You need to connect through Vietnam, VMPT, go to the traditional network, and it goes to the virtual PCs, and then you get connected to the public chain. And then because of the transaction per second reasons, you cannot have a lot of data. It has to have a very simple data that needs to be there, and you want to share this public information with others. So that creates transparency, and that makes usability. So that's what that technology is what we are working with, because we are working with transparent asset management, as well as we are designing scheduling and smart contract services to pass on your wealth. And we are also working with AI because for us, it takes action for optimizing what to do as a decision making by looking at the data and the sentiment of how this market moves. So we actually do a lot of data analytics research on this market. So our company has 20 employees, so we're a Singapore-based company. We do have our R&D center in Korea, and then we do partner with a lot of system integration companies and the companies who already have technologies. One of the reasons that we do is we want a fast scale to market, and that's how I used to work for my former company. You cannot just build everything from scratch from your company, so you need to have the core technology within your company to build. So we actually work with companies like HedgeSpot, their former BlackRock managing director, who actually built asset management platform with 15 years of historical data on a multi-asset, like derivatives, and then the futures of different assets. And we do have a blockchain R&D, which we both work on the Hyperledger, on private chain and then public chain. Because private chain, we want to build real use cases from early next year to show how blockchain can be very effective for business. So that's how we generate revenue. And then we do strategic planning and business development, and then we build portfolio investment strategy that's going to be offered on our wallet. So we are actually going to offer our Trustverse wallet from February, which you will see from the market as well. And we do financial modeling and data-driven marketing to reach out to the customers and to understand. So, just to give you my background, so until I started the startup, I used to be a director for Cisco Systems in headquarters side. So I was managing Asia Pac and Europe on the global service project. So back, about 2 years or 3 years back, when I came to Vietnam, I used to work with VMPT Vietnam on the managed service on cloud. So I am actually coming from the network and computer science background, and and I used to work for OECD International Organization, working with a lot of data, like a stat OECD, and then with the Korean government building smart city platform. So that's where my background comes from. So I did computer science for undergrad, and I did MBA from the University of Chicago, Booth. So that's basically my background. So I do work with many traditional firms because of my background. So we're talking with Shinhan Financial Group, and then Samsung on different chain technologies as well. So these are team members. So as I told you about, so we actually do come from financial background. For our education, we do actually come from the Ivy League schools. So that's how we believe that we can actually deliver something to this market, because you need real experiences and real products to make this the markets available. And all our advisors are not crypto advisors. These are all the traditional people from Alibaba, Microsoft, and and from the finance-related businesses. What you see here, these are something that we already have developed and is developing. So we are already built the server architecture for our DM services to be on board on the Ether public chain. And then we already built the DM for public and private Ether. And then we already have an AI portfolio, multi-asset and crypto indexes. And the arbitrage model, we call it Olumara. So this is how we are hedging our digital assets. So for ICO, so we already finished our ICO. We raised at least more than 50,000 Ether at the time. And we do have Bitcoin of closer to 600, but we are keep growing the size because we are doing the arbitrage trading internally, and we are hedging the risk. Our company, as I told you, we are ex-global IT finance company's background, and our market covers Southeast Asia market. And then from next year, we are looking at revenue potentials of 10 million. And then from here, that's our background, where we are coming from. And then we have a very big news to come next month. We are working with a Korea exchange, Postcom, that's government owned. So we are trying to build a legal framework to how to deal with the crypto. As you know, Korea used to be like the #1 for that market last year. Like Vietnam is like one of the examples. So we are working heavily on that side. Because I do come from a government side, we do work with the Ministry of Science and Tech and different regulation parties on structuring the market. So our company actually got very famous probably about on September, because we actually won the competition from the Futurama. I don't know if you heard about Futurama. This is sort of a summit organized by Roosevelt brokers from Bigcoin Foundation. But you do have very institutionalized people, too, like FPG and more of the venture capital fund. So we actually got a first place from that competition. So we actually got an award from there, from the Visa. And this is like brokers from the time. So our award was we get 6 free listings on exchanges. So one of them is Vietnam, and then Hobbithood and the others. We actually also got $500,000 of grant from winning the prize. So that was a big hit for our project. So yeah, these are our institutional investment which we got, and on the left is all the exchanges that will be listing from the January. So we are working heavily on the token distributions and working on the exchange, and we are working on the token economics model with the supply and demand. Officially, FPG1 is doing our market making for our token. So if you search us, we are on Forbes Investing, the Street, Investopedia, Giao Finance, because we offer very traditional services on the smart contract-based services. And in Korea, we are pretty popular. We are kind of popular because we have never directly received any tokens. We actually did IEO through a few exchanges in Korea. And one of the exchange for 6 days, we raised like closer to 15,000 in like 6 days. So we got pretty famous for that. Yeah. So these are our market segment which we are targeting. I don't know if you heard about very whale investors, Fidelity, Vanguard, so BlackRock. I told you we have that sort of partnership from the MD who actually came from BlackRock. So we actually want to see ourselves on that left side who are very specialized in managing digital wealth or crypto. So that's where we are heading as a portfolio. So I believe in this market. Why blockchain is phenomenal? Because I believe in McAfee as well. Because if you come from finance and traditional background, they actually talk about what's your intrinsic value in this market. I don't see anything. People invest on token, but what's the real thing? I believe the network is the true thing. That's going to make this blockchain market phenomenal. And the high adoption rate, people see that the price is falling. If you look at 10 years of trend, it's keep growing, and the market adoption is keep growing too. So these are some of the indexes that we find correlations. I hope the correlations from next year will be very low because of you're actually delivering something. So we provide portfolio information services, family consensus through our wallet, and smart contract design, tax and legal data services, and you can transfer your wealth. That's what we actually do. So these are our developments, which we already did. So internally we already made. So if you look at, the crypto is very tricky because you don't have a lot of data. We are looking at time series on the time fragments, and so we do neural network design for all this trend, and then we learn every second of the bit of how the correlated activities between different tokens, market situations, and we inject sentiment for this whole data. And if you select different tokens that you're interested, we are able to build a portfolio, show the heat map of the volatility and the return rate, and then build you a portfolio that can be easily managed, but you can rebalance it through using our tokens. So we are doing more researches on that. This is our total data structure of how we are doing predictive analysis on how this market is going to change. And these are high-speed portfolio cloud computing. So we actually come from traditional side. We actually deal with global equities and the traditional market, which we actually gain 85% per year, managing about $35 million US. Yeah, and then I do a lot of the more of a EVC and the back or the different financial modeling to understand how does actually price move. It's not only by supply, demand, and assumptions, but I think there's clearly a mathematical formulation between token, equity, and the macro market. So we're trying to find the data of how to actually make, rather than pumping. I think you're pumping your token, that's super illegal. And most of the projects, they actually do liquidity provision, and then you're pumping the token. In Korea, if you do that in the stock market, you get arrested and go to jail. So that's how this market moves. 90% of the projects, you do that by making your prices. So I believe that MAU and the DAU, daily active users on the public chain, that's really going to change the market. You have to look at these two subsets to actually see that this project is live. Is it real? Is it going to create value to me? This is the user. That's how Grab, the Grab. So they call it Grab Viet. That's what I heard. And or the social services or the app services, you actually look at the user usage. So we are looking at family offices, individuals, and the financial institutions to provide digital wealth transfer, trust mechanism, on smart contract, risk managed, simple tax and legal advice, and then cost-effective and safe platform. So we are doing a lot of things out of the services I told you about, and we also do have AI chatbot that actually do a predictive profiling as well of a user. So these are updates. We will share this deck on our press site, on our website. So simply giving you understanding of portfolio, you can actually do that on an Excel sheet. But how do you rebalance your investment? So that's why you need AI to rebalance all this and make sure that you have already participated in this asset by smart contract. Because when there's a failure of system, then you won't be able to see how much of the stake that you actually hold as an asset. So you're actually building risky assets to a healthy asset by different time phrases. The technology side is what we are doing. So we do many things, stock price predictions. On the equity side, we can actually do about 30 days already. So this is a pager illustration of what we can do with a diversified asset and the multi-class asset. And you will be able to see this DM coming out next year. The user interface will be much more different. I'll just simply give you an example of
Yeah, please, Mr. Michael, maybe we can find out more information on your booth because we are running
sure.
low time.
So I'll just find out some. So you have to be very meticulous about ICO projects, because a lot of the ICOs that goes on and then going to the exchange are very difficult. Percentage-wise, only about 1.7% of projects are actually succeeding, goes on to exchange and then make a healthy volume. So you can see us, our token, and on Monday we're actually hosting our private event in here just for Vietnam. So you can see our news, and then there's an exchange we're partnering with. They're coming to the Vietnamese market as well. I'm hoping that we make the real value of a DF and then head to the moon. Yeah, thank you for your attention. Thank you.